Recording has started. So anything you say from now on is going to be on YouTube. So, well, welcome to the meeting. Okay, give me 5 seconds and I'll close the door to my office, so I'll have some privacy. I'm sorry about that. Okay. Meeting call to order. Maybe somebody needs to mute. Okay, I think whoever, somebody's causing myself to hear myself twice. One of these days I'll learn to speak English. Okay, let's do this meeting. Let's start with a roll call. Board members, Mike Morlang, our treasurer.
Aye.
And Amy Golden.
Here.
And Alexa Wilson. I'm here too. We have the complete board, all three of us. Adoption of the agenda. Does anyone have any changes to the agenda? If not, do we need to vote on that? Mike?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll wait for a motion to adopt the agenda.
Make that motion.
And a second.
I second the motion.
Okay, everybody in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, that was all three of us. So we're off to the races. The first thing we need to talk about is the approval of the minutes, which we didn't do in last meeting and we didn't do the meeting before. So now we have 3 sets of minutes to approve right now. I've read them. They seem to say, on my part, what I said and what we decided and what I remember everybody else said. Amy, Mike.
I don't have any amendments or edits to the minutes, and I would make a motion to approve the minutes from 6/12, 7/19, and 7/31 meetings.
Still look fine to me.
Did you second that, Amy?
I do.
Oh, sorry, not paying attention. So everybody in favor of approving the minutes for this 3 days, say aye.
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 Aye. So that was unanimously accepted. We're still doing this, moving on to the next subject. We're still doing this electronically. And to be honest, I don't know what we would do if we could no longer do this electronically. I'm imagining for Mike as well as for me, it would be really tough to track to Tickaboo every month. So, yay, we're still doing this electronically based on Utah Code annotated 52/4/2020. Not an anchor location. So, public comments. We love public comments and welcome to all the members of the public who've joined our meeting. We have 15 minutes and anyone who wants to speak has up to 3 minutes to do so. So if there's anyone who wants to say something, either do the raise your hand thing or unmute yourself and raise your voice. Not seeing anyone who wants to speak. We're closing this public comment period. Next thing, I I'd like to confirm the meeting dates for the rest of the meetings for until the end of 2023. We have decided to alternate between a noontime meeting and a 5:30 meeting because we couldn't decide. So we thought we're gonna just switch it up so everybody gets some of what they like, and some people can make some meetings, other people can make other meetings. So the September meeting on the 13th is going to be at noon. On October 11th, we have a 5:30 meeting. October 11th is actually going to be an in-person meeting in the conference room in the Tickaboo Lodge. And we're going to hang out in or outside the office starting, I think, at 5 o'clock. I didn't check the calendar, but that exact calendar will be published, and we're inviting everyone who wants to come visit us, talk to us, meet us, yell at us, ask questions, whenever you feel like doing. And while you're not doing that, you can have a drink and a little snack, and then we can all troop up to the meeting room. For the actual meeting, there's also going to be an opportunity for members of the public to go on a little tour of the TUID facilities. John has agreed to take people up to the generator room and the water tank. And being a non-techie myself, I thought it was really interesting, even though none of those big machines mean much to me, other than that they look big and powerful. But and just standing on top of the water tank and looking down in the water, I think those things are cool, and I thought it'd be a good idea to offer that opportunity to people who live in Tickaboo, who are on the other side of the fence. So we'll do that on the 11th. The other special thing that's going to happen on the 11th is that representatives of UMs are going to come and visit us to talk about how we're going to manage TUID in the long term, what technology is going to be needed in the future, how we're going to finance that, what the grant opportunities are. And as an introduction to that, earlier in the day, we'll take the UM's people on a tour. And then on the next day, we'll do the action. And UMs will give a little presentation at the meeting. Who knows what UM stand for? Utah Association.
Municipal Power Systems, right?
Yes, Utah Association of Municipal Power Systems.
I had to think about it. I knew it, then I forgot it, and I remember the rest of it.
Well, thanks for the assist. And then the next day, we're going to have a meeting we're going to have, I'm going to meet with UMs. If all the board members are there, I think that means it's going to be a work session, and I guess the public has to be an open meeting. Well, we'll just have to make that work. We'll see how we're going to do that. And then we have another meeting on November 8 at noon and December 13 at 5:30, unless we're proposing a fee increase for 2024, in which case it has to be at 6 o'clock because Utah law says that it can't be any earlier than 6 o'clock. Well, anybody have anything to add to that? Well, in that case, we can move on to a subject that usually goes way over my head about generators. John, and I can I enlist you for that?
Yeah, you're referencing just the update on the MQ replacement, Alexa. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. And current major rebuild needs is what it says on the agenda.
Yeah, we'll spend more time on the replacement. What I told you guys, Turnkey Industries updated me, and they're still waiting on the oil sample to come back. And I appreciate him being up front. It's taken a little longer, but that's part of it. It's not too uncommon. But he said realistically next Thursday, so that would be obviously a week from tomorrow. Would be the 24th that it'll come back. And you guys have heard me say this. An oil sample is like having your blood drawn as a human being. It gives you a good idea of the condition, of what's going on internally in the engine. So we need to be sure that's clear, and it helps us make a more informed, educated purchase. But once that comes back, and if it's not, obviously we're not going to proceed. We can't, nor would they be able to sell it. If something did, come back that shouldn't be in the oil. But if it does, as we hope for good reason, then we arrange and run through you guys a driver, probably through North Lake Powell, in a vehicle to run to Sparks, Nevada, and pick it up for us. So that'll be nice. It's timing wise, we're getting to that point where we mostly slow down. So we'll have the demand, versus the efficiency of that smaller machine will be coming around. So timing is good on our end. We still have a little bit of time, but that's well within that window that we need to be in. So we're good there so far. So that's where we stand on that. The major rebuild, that's something that we're probably going to move out to discuss later on. As I told you guys, what we're doing now is evaluating and seeing the what's in the winds. I think I mentioned you guys, the long block versus an in frame, which is a little bit cleaner, especially in a dusty environment, and what we're doing there. I'm trying to get some additional pricing from CAT. I've gotten most of it on that, so I'll get that to you guys. With a narrative to go with it. And again, this is off the top of my head. We should certainly aim for one of those machines. It's a lot of money. And you guys have heard me talk about the risk. It's hard to say. If you talk to 10 different people who own C9s, they're going to tell you 10 different things of how far you can push them past the 20,000 hour benchmark. What puts us probably closer to that number that's in on paper is the environment they operate in. It's hot and it's dusty and sandy here. So that is considered an extreme environment, if you're going by the book. So that's, we're at, close to 23,000 hours on each of the C9s right now. And as I mentioned to you guys too, unfortunately, it's not just the engines, it's the alternator, which is the generator that makes power. The bearings there too, they have a life that you just don't know. Again, they are also in that 20,000 hour benchmark that you don't want them to go out, especially, when it's running, which is when they do, because that's pretty catastrophic for the most part. Can destroy the generator itself, the alternator, and the engine that is driving it. So we just need to devote more discussions to that, and try to come to agreement of when we want to do it, which theoretically would be in the winter. When the MQ is running, and we're not interrupting the rest of the plant in the meantime too on that. But I'm just gonna I would throw it out as far as the timeline. I think I mentioned this to you guys too. When you let CAT know, today could be 2 months down the road. So the sooner we can reach a decision, I feel like there's going to be a delay with those guys. probably 30 to 60 days, which is normal. And there's still part shortages too. As of a week ago, they had those parts in stock, but you guys heard me say, one C9 breaker that, is a self-energizing breaker was on back order until December the 30th. And I've looked on eBay and places for them. They're just not out there. So there's still supply chain issues that affect things like that. And of course, labor, as well too. So the sooner we can make a decision, there's probably going to be a lag in that. And it's hurtful. We're talking $80,000 to $100,000. There's a big gap of obviously of 20,000, but by the time you're done with items like that, you should always assume you're going to pay a little bit more. And that's holding Wheeler to their quote. That they are going to do what they say they're going to do, obviously. But there's always other items that stack that price too.
So these generators have been operating for about 10 years. So is it a reasonable assumption that we're going to have to go through the same thing 10 years from now?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No,
and can you keep repeating that? Like every 10 years and then it'll live forever, or how does that work?
No, eventually one day they're going to die. Well, I mean, on the one hand, you're putting a brand new engine in there, and so you're basically starting over on that end of things. Now the generation in the alternator, obviously you're getting new bearings. The other service that you can do is to have that and actually you may have to, it may not be a choice. When you pull that off, you inspect the generator end, and there's these, windings and this coating on the windings called a varnish. And if that's been sandblasted, again, we have a lot of sand around us. That has to be sent off and dipped and baked and then recoated too. You have to put that varnish back on that those windings if there's a deterioration, or they call it sandblasting too. So in effect, if you do both those things, you really have a new generator for the most part. So you are starting with new components, depending on either half new, 70% new, depending. And if you dip that generator in, then you're pretty close to 100% of a new machine. Yeah, it's almost closer to a replacement than a rebuild to a large degree on those.
Yeah. The reason I was asking is that we have another 20 years to pay off the payments on the loan on those generators, and plus significant maintenance costs. It seems that we want these things to at least last until we're done paying for them.
Yeah, given the nature of what they are and how that's so common to understand, they're going to have to rebuild. That's a tough formula. Without cash in hand, that probably is part of the formula for this and those bonds and how they're set up. I assume, that's probably factored into it too. So yeah, it's a tough one to match up that service life when you're having to, get basically a new one. And of course too, Alexa, that timeline, the world and political climate and items like that, there may not, basically trying to say, I guess that's a good reason to look for alternative energies, is that you may be forced to do something else. That technology may not be allowed, 10 years down the road.
It may be technically not obsolete, but it may be, I don't know what the right word for it is.
Yeah.
Regulatorily.
Last month.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing with that too is,
I'm hearing somebody's radio or TV.
Yeah, unfortunately, I said the name Alexa and it fired up in here, so I'm gonna have to change the name on ours.
Okay.
Well, and that a lot of consultants they're hybrid. They're recommending the generators are backup along with solar and, Li-ion batteries and some combination thereof too. So that's another possibility where if you, go from normal duty of 24/7 of these with a hybrid system where they're still involved, but they're obviously you're going to spread that life, using that 20,000 hour mark out if you have some other, system and technology in place too. So, but yeah, it's a tough one. They have to be rebuilt when you buy them. It's obviously money based, and a good bit of it.
Well, that's definitely something we can discuss with UAMs, like
Agreed.
switching technologies and financing and grant options and all that.
Yeah, in the climate, with the packages that are out now, that there's two of them. Names are very similar. It's one of them's Empowering America, and the other one's very similar. There's money out there, and hopefully their collective intelligence can help us, point in the right direction.
There must be some support for changing out generators for solar panels or something that doesn't run on fossil fuels.
Yeah, I would assume so too.
Good. Does anybody have any questions of John about this subject? John, are you okay moving on?
Yes. That's
Okay. Well,
like I said, there's to be continued on the
yeah.
on the rebuild. And as soon as I get an update on the MQ oil test, I will certainly let you guys know ASAP too.
Okay. Thanks, John. Very enlightening. The next subject is audit findings. We had our 2022 financials audited by a professional firm, whose name I can't remember right off the top of my head. And they came back with significant findings. An audit finding means that they find something that you did not do right. And I propose to take that as a constructive criticism, and it wasn't done right. So we know that next year we have a new chance, and we will do whatever it takes to make it right. You can find my text. I can go through some of them real briefly. I think there were two major ones. One was that the severance payment to the previous manager was not given the tax treatment it should have been. It was reported to the IRS on a 1099, which means that TUID underpaid payroll taxes. It also means that the manager overpaid on his self-employment taxes. So we need to fix that. I have tried to reach out to the previous manager through the only method I knew, through Facebook. I'm pretty sure I found his account. He has not responded, so we're just going to send that fix it and send it to the IRS, and then I guess the IRS can sort it out. And you can always come and call the office, and then the office can give him copies of what we sent to the IRS. So we don't even have the chance to do this wrong this year because we don't have any employees. But if we have any employees in the future, we will make sure that all compensation will go through payroll. The second important item was that there were several important records that could not be located. records up to 2021 appear to be immaculate. Records for 2022 seem to be skimpy. I believe that North Lake Powell people have looked in every place they could possibly look to find them, and they were not there. So, well, we're going to be really careful not to repeat that in 2023. There were some little things. Well, it's not a little thing, but it doesn't have serious consequences in that our expenditures were over the budget. At the end of 2022, we should have amended the budget to reflect actual expenses, and we didn't. We will not do that again.
Yeah, I think a lot of that $4 a gallon diesel fuel too. So,
Right.
it should have been
it-
more.
Yeah. So we'll be better. And our reserves dipped under the bond requirements. We have outstanding loans, and as part of the terms of the loan, we are required to keep certain reserves, and that was not done. Again, we will be better. This will all be published in detail once we get final audited financials. Ray, John, do you know when that may happen?
I haven't talked to Sophie. Alexa, I can follow up with her.
Yeah.
You know, we had a set, but of course with those adjustments that were needed to be done, it made them inaccurate. So she was going to readjust those
Yeah.
and try to get them to us. I can certainly follow up with her. I know she's been working on them, but I haven't heard from her in a few days.
That'd
So
be great. And as soon as we have them, we'll just stick everything on the open, on the public notice site
yeah.
for everyone to have a look.
Yeah, and on that note, I think we're a little echo there, but we're going to look to clean those up. We just want to make them easier to read and interpret, going forward. I don't think this set is going to quite reflect that, but we're working toward that. They need to be, again, outside of, unless we're required to, as we discussed, we need just to make them, if they own a public website, the public should be able to read them like any of us.
Right. Mike, Amy, do you have anything to add?
Nope, I'm good, Alexa.
Okay. One of these days I have to figure out to have somebody else talk besides me. It's getting a little bit much. Board reports. Shall I just keep going? Okay. An update on the water rights situation. We have filed an amended application for replacement water rights. BLM has withdrawn its protest, and now it's just up to the Division of Water Rights to take the next steps, to either just say yes or no, or require a hearing, or whatever they want to do next. And what I've heard, that they're not speedy decision makers. So we're just hanging tight and wait for the division to tell us what we need to do next, if anything.
Alexa, I do have a question about that.
Okay.
Has oh gosh, sorry about that. Has the the engineers follow up anything about the conversation we were having about the delay and the subsequent fees that we incurred?
No, it's kind of in their court. We have, I had a conversation with, I think his name is Dan, and he was going to get with his supervisor and set up a meeting. I guess I just need to prod him again.
Yeah, it sounds like you have. They just sort of delay. You know,
Yeah. Well, it's a painful subject, so I'm going to see why they're not falling all over themselves to address it.
Certainly. Yeah, and I think that total has actually gone up. I think we found a few more invoices that actually probably knocked that total up another $1,000 or $2,000 too. So it's been painful to us too, as we all know. So
yeah. So I will definitely follow up with them.
And, thank you for doing that. No, that's they need to
nice meeting.
Give us some responses and some courtesy there.
So we also had a little adventure about the lots and that that Tom Hill donated to us, and the trailer that we bought that is sitting on the lots. Tom Hill has signed the amendment to the deed to loosen the deed restriction, so now we can lease it and let it sit empty, which was previously not allowed. He mailed it to us, and then I probably gave him the wrong address because we just moved, and I don't know what happened. Anyway, it got returned to him, and he's mailing it again, and then we can record it. So we're good on those lots. The trailer turned out to not even be in our name. And we have Ray to thank for shuttling back and forth between the Brown brothers, in whose name the trailer still was, and the DMV and the county office to sort it out and get the trailer in our name. So we now own lots on which we can do more things with a trailer on it than we actually own. So thank you, Ray, for first finding the deficiency and then solving the problem. Much appreciated. And those were my adventures since the last meeting. How about you, Mike and Amy? Anything exciting to report?
Nope, I'm good, Alexa.
Hey, John, it's your turn again. Operations report. I suggest that you just go over the document that you prepared.
Yeah, I can do that. We've covered the MQ portion of it, so we don't have to revisit that. That's obviously part of it there too. The other portions, I'm just, you guys have the document to refer to and re-refer to. I'll just sort of, highlight them per category. Just revisiting the generators, some, the current power plant, still an ongoing process to get those, running correctly. And not only do the generators get old, the communication systems, which are the electronics and the switches that run them, unfortunately, they get hot and they age like we do, and they get old and die too, unfortunately. So that's still an ongoing project with Wheeler Cat to finish up that. We're running on 2 generators now, which is fine. So in an effort to save money, we're really waiting on that breaker to come in and trying to combine task. That $1,500 fee to crank up the Cat truck gets expensive. Unfortunately, when they come down here, so we have to be mindful, of that too, but try to balance needs and budgets and the money. So that's still ongoing on those, and that's going to involve. You saw where I gave you guys some pictures and some illustrations and circles to kind of identify what I was talking about to give you guys a better idea, because it is technical in nature. But that'll continue along with the battery chargers to try to keep voltage drops to each machines when they crank versus a battery bank and one charger for 3 machines. So hopefully that has long-term good health effects on the machines to have their own set of batteries and battery chargers too. So that's still continuing on those. We just continue cleaning and straightening up the power plant too. I really want to see that spick and span, for that operating environment, outside and inside. We're not there yet, but we're making leeway on it. I've been up there cleaning too, so that's going to continue to get that where it's usable and workable. And I mentioned to you guys too, it's also taking inventory. You saw the picture of the stacked meters that are up there. And again, this is secondhand information. So this is of the old trust but verify, which we will do. That if we have meters that technology no longer supports, or they just are no good to us sitting around. So maybe things like that hold value to somebody else, or maybe they hold no value and don't deserve a roof over them type of deal. But those are things I'll record and share with you guys. And if we need to get any input, we just need to have a clean, safe, workable space up there. And right now it's just, kind of junky, for lack of a better word. So we really want to get that cleaned up. So that's a big one on the generator end. The water end, again, this is further down the road because we do have working systems. It's just that well house number 2 doesn't work on solar. So we've gone through the process. You heard me tell you guys that explains why it wasn't on solar. I don't know how far back that goes, but when you go to the solar setup, you get an error on the VFD, which is just a fancy name for the electronics that drive the pump.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably the issue, but that's probably involves experts diagnosing, that to be sure. But the good news is number 2, after I monkeyed with some controls, miraculously is running on auto again. So it is actually supplying the cistern along with number 1, which is good. We were worried about that well sitting. It does need to move the water, and it actually was working today. I'd like to take credit for that. I'm not sure, but I was the last in there. It is.
I would take the credit if I were you.
Yeah, I'm going to reach out and do that. But so that's good. No, we have two working. Prefer both be on solar, but again, with our, it's not the end of the world that, especially when, those pumps they're not turning 24/7. They're on and off depending on demand and, tank levels.
So my understanding was that the pumps needed to be on solar so that Tikaboo would have water even if the electricity was out for a long period of time.
I think that's a side benefit, certainly. Yeah, that's definitely, and they, even with one not working, the other one can do that, which is great. The other thing I heard from Cat, one of the old school guys, Steve, who set up that power plant, he said initially that, I'm assuming this maybe is the old generators, they couldn't handle running those pumps. It took a bigger load to start them as well. And that was part of it. But nonetheless, it's a great thing to have that. Yeah, there's many, I don't know if that's true, but just the benefit of having the well that will run and water be supplied if there is some type of outage that's extended is certainly a huge benefit from that.
Yeah. It pains me a little bit that those solar panels by well number 2 are just sitting there, not doing anything, looking pretty. Well, we're still paying for the loans on that as well. Also, all the way to 2045.
Yeah. What I'm trying to do is, so far, I haven't been able to identify who did the installation on that. If I could, usually those guys will put up some sort of identification of the work they did. There's not in those well houses. The manufacturer stickers are in there. And then Dorset Controls, which is the SCADA supplier, they monitor, but Dorset is really an add-on. They look at the equipment, tie into it, and give you a remote control capability, but it's not the actual equipment. And you guys saw that Sun Systems is the solar VFD. I'm even considering contacting them and say, hey, do you have a record that TUID bought this equipment? Or if I give you a serial number, can you tell me if one of your vendors bought it and who they are? Because those are usually the guys to do that. I had some electricians look at it for me as a favor when I first got here, and they were unable to do anything. They claim the addition of Dorset, they're proprietary, and you got to be real careful that somebody in with Dorset has to be the people to tie into those. But I'd like to see it running too. No, it'd be nice to have them both on solar, you know, and to use those panels like you say.
It'd be nice to have stuff work.
Correct. Yeah.
And I appreciate all the work you're doing and getting closer to that every day.
Yeah, it'll pay off. So it's a priority to get that taken care of and running correctly too. The rest of it, just the general updates. Again, the biggest questions we have and the biggest confusion is about rates. Excuse me. And that's normal. It's one of the tougher things to understand, but you have a much better grasp on it now. So we're able to help customers, look at what they use, what a year looks like, maybe what's an optimal plan for them. So everybody's been appreciative of that. This last month, everybody used a lot more. It was a lot hotter, and you could see it, from even the generation end monitoring the generators when they were, having to double up and run 2 generators. So that's expected. It was very hot. So, but everybody, we got a good community, and the questions are legitimate, and we're more than happy to do what we can to help people when we can, and be transparent.
Have people been coming to the office?
Every once in a while. I don't think we've hit double digits in visitors yet, but we've had several people stop by and visit and get a piece of candy and ask a question or two. So
Good.
yeah,
Oh, have candy.
yeah, we do that to try to bait people to come see us.
Yeah, I feel kind of sorry for Connie, who has to sit next to the candy jar all day and try not to eat them all.
Yeah, exactly.
I know I would fail there.
Yeah. But no, it's good. It's like I said, it's a good, good working office and a good location. And obviously people are welcome to come by. And we've had people inquiring about, having power installed. That's still one of the bigger, sources of questions too. So we're working with them on, what it costs, where the fees lie in that, those type of deals too. But no, we've made, and you kind of going back up the list, you saw too, and this ties in with the financials and Sophie. We've, Connie's been doing a lot of work in bill.com. It turned out to be a very important piece of the accounting, not just for paying bills. That's where the accountant was going into. It's strange. There's assets in there too. That's, again, I think we got to draw a bigger line between what QuickBooks can do and what bill.com can do. That's easy enough to do. But that's important in getting those financials sorted, so we're looking at the right things and right categories, and and we've had a lot of bills. They were a lot at one time. The generators obviously being one of them, and annual our periodic tests for the wells. You guys saw I mentioned that we did one that was $3,500. I think is once every 3 years. You want to try to budget for those things, and it helps if you have a calendar built. That takes time, but items like that, as we get that sorted, they'll be, I won't say a breeze, but they will be much easier and much, much more regular. And again, we won't have to hire a consultant to read the financials for us. We want to be able to read those ourselves. So that really is a summary of the report I sent you guys. You guys know it had a little more detail in it. And you guys, you can refer back to that. I think Ray has a question there too for
Ray, please.
one of us.
Not a question, but I don't think I can do this without. Okay, there we go. Is there any echo on your all's lines? Is everything okay there?
I can hear you fine.
I'm good.
Alexa, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I just wanted to add that in the discussion with the water rights and the generation with UAMPS, that Garfield County has become a very close and strong powerful partner for us. And recently, well, more than recently, it was like back in March or April, there was a 911 call from Tickaboo, and NPS sent law enforcement up here, and they could not find the address of where the 911 call came from. And they said that they felt from the call it was a type of a medical emergency, and they knocked on several of our employees' houses looking for the address, and nobody knew the addresses. And when we notified the county of that, they immediately sent, well, they had to build the signs, but they sent us signs that we now have up. We still got about 7 or 8 signs to put up on street corners and stuff. But Amy had noticed NPS taking pictures of the signs so that they could get a better understanding of where our streets are located and where our homes are located. And then when when I discussed with them the water rights issue, and we were talking with BLM, Caden Figgins told me that, he got a directive from the commissioners to get on that and help Tickaboo get that sorted out. And then recently with the UAMPS coming to town, Jerry Taylor had said that he was going to try to get there for the meeting. So in all of the struggles that we're finding, I just want to remind us all that a very powerful ally sits just on the other side of the county, 12 hours away, but they're eager to help in any way they can.
Yeah, that's a good point, and thanks, Ray, for bringing that up. We have, I think we can use all the support we can get, and Garfield County has been great recently. So I'm happy if Jerry Taylor can make it to our meeting over to keep the county commission looped in. That'd be great. Anything else, anyone? We managed to make it through the whole meeting without making a single decision since we approved the minutes. Well, I guess if you meet every month, some meetings are going to be like that. Our next meeting will be in September 13th at noon. So unless anyone has anything else to bring up, I would encourage a motion to adjourn.
I motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Everybody agrees on that. So thank you all, and thank you all to our guests for attending. Feel free to reach out to any of us if you have any questions. We're always happy to engage and see if we can make life better somehow. So thank you all.
Thank you guys.
And good evening.
Same to you guys. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
See y'all.
Good evening.